Hello, and welcome everyone. The seas are about to get a whole lot deadlier, my friends, with the release of the brand new Dockyard reward ship, Almirante Oquendo, the Spanish Tier 9 premium heavy cruiser. If it's an ultra-precise, heavy-hitting cruiser you've been waiting for, well, feast your eyes on this new monster with 12x 203mm guns with literally destroyer levels of main battery dispersion when activating the special alternative fire mode called modified shells. Contents of this video include a complete review guide, armor layout, build, advice, tips and tricks, and I'll mark the video with chapters so you can easily find the info you need.
Enemy battleship sunk.
That's accurate.
The Almirante Oquendo is based on a heavy cruiser design from 1947 with a displacement of 17,500 tons, embodying the Super Washington design known as Project 138. This design was developed at the Spanish Naval Shipyard in Ferrol. Under one of the draft designs, the ship's primary armament would comprise of 12 203mm main battery guns. However, such an ambitious project for Spanish shipbuilding would never come to fruition following the devastation to the country's economy following the Spanish Civil War. This cruiser, Almirante Oquendo, will be available in the Dockyard until 13.10. It consists of 20 phases, 2,000 doubloons per phase. There will be 2 packs available, one for 7 levels for 8,000 doubloons, or 2 levels for 3,000 doubloons. There is an additional reward ship that you can pick up, the Tier 6 German light cruiser Leipzig, and if you happen to own this ship, you will get 2 phases as compensation, with which you can complete the Dockyard for free. Now, the cheapest alternative is to buy the bundle for 2 levels for 3,000 doubloons. This is the cheapest way to get the Almirante Oquendo in the new Dockyard event. So let me start by putting up the build I'm using in this game. Nothing really out of the ordinary. Propulsion mod and reload mod and concealment, of course. The captain skills, you do have a little bit of flexibility here, but this is what I'm running just for the purposes of this review guide. You do get some quite interesting consumables. You get a repair party. You get a choice between hydroacoustic search and defensive AA in the same slot, and a choice between a spotter aircraft or a fighter in the same slot also. So let's take an in-depth look at the ship itself. Now we'll start with the armor layout. Using a simple port screenshot, we can see fore-end plating of 25mm, same on the stern. However, you do get a very nice fore-end armor belt of 50mm, and the same on the stern, an aft-end armor belt of 50mm. The main belt armor is 110mm, but there is spaced armor here. It is covered by a torpedo protection belt of 40mm. The upper casemate and the main deck armor are both 27mm, and the superstructure is 16mm. The main battery gun turrets get a frontal plate of 152mm, top plating and side plating of 102mm, and the rear plate armor on these turrets is 50mm. Now if we look at the Citadel armor, again using a very simple screenshot from the armor viewer in the port, we can see that the Citadel is raised quite significantly above the waterline, running from the front turret to the rear turret. The deck armor on this Citadel is 80mm. The athwartship is 140mm on both bow and stern. So, of course, you have to be very, very careful when making any kind of turn as that citadel is vulnerable when showing broadside, raised significantly above the waterline. So this ties into the ship's survivability. You get, with this build, 52,350 hit points and a torpedo protection damage reduction of 16%. In terms of hit points in comparison to other Tier 9 cruisers, it's not that bad. It puts you behind tanky ships like Alaska, of course, but it would be in the top half when it comes to hit points. Now this 52,350 is reinforced by having 4 repair parties. With this build, they can repair 314 hit points per second for a duration of 28 seconds. Okay, so moving to the artillery, the main battery guns. Now this is what you're all waiting for, these exact specs. Now Almirante Oquendo gets 12 of these 203mm guns, housed in 4 triple mounted gun turrets, 2 fore and 2 aft. They have, with this build, they have a reload time of 11.4 seconds. They can rotate 180 degrees in 22.5 seconds. They have a baseline max dispersion, again with this build, of 144 meters and a max firing range of 17.6 kilometers, again with this build. Almirante can fire high explosive and armor piercing. They both have the exact same shell speed of 814 meters per second. The high explosive has a 19% fire chance. They can pen 34mm of armor and has a max damage of 2,850. So decent damage, decent fire chance, and breaking that 32mm pen barrier, which is always nice. The armor piercing damage is 4,500 on piercing the enemy citadel. Max damage 4,500. So as already mentioned, Almirante gets access to the modified shell's alternative fire mode, simply activated by toggling the F button on and off. When toggled on, this results in a big boost to your shell dispersion, a reduction of -20%. So that equates to a max dispersion of 115 meters. Now as a result, you will get a slightly slower reload. The reload time will drop from 11.4 to 16.3, but this boost to accuracy is not to be underestimated. Very, very accurate guns. You basically get DD levels of main battery gun accuracy, and the results are really amazing at times. Almirante also gets secondary battery guns, 6 twin mounted 90mm. They fire high explosive shells. They have a base range of 7.3 kilometers with a reload time of 3.6 seconds, 1300 max damage. They have a 6% chance of setting the target on fire. They can only pen 15mm of armor, but have a shell speed of 860 meters per second. Almirante also comes armed with torpedo tubes. The range is 8 kilometers. You get 2 X3 launchers, 1 on each side, so 6 torpedoes in total. They have a reload time of 106 seconds, and the max damage is 16,633. Now the torpedo speed is 62 knots, and they have a detectability range of 1.3 kilometers. So a little bit just under 50k alpha per torpedo tube on each side. Almirante Oquendo also gets access to the depth charge airstrike. The max operational range of these is 7 kilometers. You get 2 available flights. With this build, they have a reload time of just over 25 seconds, 1 aircraft per attacking flight, dropping 2 bombs, and they have a max bomb damage of 4,200. to help you counter enemy submarines. When it comes to AA defense, I have tried to bolster it slightly using the focus fire training skill. You get a rating of 70, however it is held back by the short firing range. You get 20 of the single mounted 20mm guns, 16 twin mounted 37mm, and the secondary battery are dual purpose. These 12 90mm guns, all combined, they pump out a continuous average damage of 325. With the focus fire training, you do get 5 shell explosions per flak salvo, and the max damage is 1260. Priority sector reinforcement is 75%, with a 10-second action time and prep time. The max firing range is only 4.6. I would have liked to have seen a little bit longer firing range on this. The 4.6 does feel a little bit limited. You will be facing a lot of aircraft carriers, especially fighting tier 10s and super ships. When it comes to maneuverability, the speed is quite decent. Base speed is 36 knots. With the Sierra Mike signal flag, you can boost this to 37.8 knots, just under 38 knots. The turning circle radius is 790 meters with a rudder shift time of 11.3 seconds. Now that is using the propulsion mod. Should you go with steering gears, you can reduce the rudder shift time down to 9 seconds. So finally, stats wise, the Almirante Oquendo with a full stealth build gets a concealment rating of 59, which equates to a surface detectability range of 11.3 kilometers. Not exactly stealthy at tier 9, but with these very, very accurate main guns, you can quite easily operate at mid to long range, with a lot of comfort knowing you have this amazing accuracy to land shells reliably on target. Now, it might sound a little bit counterintuitive, but I do prefer to turn off the modified shells at long range. If you're going to think optimally about playing this, you do actually want your shells to spread a little bit more at long range due to targets maneuvering and shell time. So you do get a bit wider spread, making it quite easier to land shells at long range. As the targets get closer and closer, I do highly recommend using the modified shells firing mode more and more often as your confidence grows in aiming and leading the target. Once you feel comfortable with these shells, they literally become pinpoint accurate. They really do feel powerful. You can aim for specific parts of the ship and be confident that the majority of your shells will hit the target, and this does feel quite liberating. You feel less hindered by RNG, and you are rewarded for aiming well as the shells respond well, and these tight dispersion groups you can see here on screen regularly, this does feel very, very rewarding. So this is the Almirante Oquendo. I found operating on a flank, trying not to be too aggressive at the start of games due to the concealment of plus 11 kilometers. Try and support your destroyers as much as possible. You can land accurate salvos on even the most fast moving of targets. Provide as much support as you can for your battleships, and keep these guns firing, because these guns do feel very rewarding. So I'll let this game play out. It does feature some very nice gameplay and does highlight and showcase the accuracy of these guns. I hope you enjoy the gameplay. It does feature quite an unexpected ending. So until the next time, if you'd like to see some live gameplay, make sure to come over and visit me on Twitch. You can see the link here on screen. I stream there regularly during the week. I look forward to seeing you all.
Torpedoes, direct front. The ship is on fire! The ship is on fire!
Enemy cruiser sunk.
Allied aircraft need fire support.
Torpedoes to starboard. Torpedoes astern. Torpedoes astern.